it's been a long time coming, but let's finally cover a video from the haunted Kermit the Frog puppet, known as Nigel Farage. This one is about climate change, and it must be good because, like, YouTube have put like a climate change Wikipedia article on it. Makes it seem like there might be misinformation in this. We'll see. We'll have to see where it goes. So this is Nigel Farage clashes with Bob Ward over climate change.
Astonishing to which Boris Johnson now appears to be the most committed world leader to carbon reduction. And that's
I won't go into that.
As much a political position, I sense, as anything else.
No.
But just tell me this. All these countries will come together in Glasgow. Are the Chinese going to be there?
China will certainly be there. The question is whether President Xi Jinping's going to be there, and I think he will.
Do you?
He will be in Milan for the G20 summit on the eve, and I think China recognises this is an important issue for them. Like every other country in the world, the reason why this is the number one priority is this is about the kind of world we leave to our children and our grandchildren. And the science is very clear. The climate is changing. It's being driven by man. And the world is becoming a more risky and dangerous place for everybody. And if you care about your children and your grandchildren, you do care about what's happening to the climate. On the other hand, we know...
Before it goes any further, just want to say, how can you disagree with any of that?
Know that the changes we have to make to our economy have lots of other benefits. We're going to create
really? What
economic...
massive loss of jobs?
Well, you gave the example of...
When he says loss of jobs, he's talking about jobs that have already been lost, essentially. When British industry moves abroad, that's jobs lost. The idea is you replace them with something no one else is doing. Britain, I don't think, is actually in a position to benefit from this the best. America definitely is, and it's insane that they haven't yet. But he's talking about jobs that we've already lost, and moving over to green energy, because there's really not that many places that are actually investing a shit ton into it, at least not as much as they should be. Investing in green energy now equals green jobs, which I think would more than replace the jobs we've lost over the last decade from industry.
Us cutting our emissions by 44% since 1990. What you didn't mention is our economy grew by 78%.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Hang on. You're quoting the Prime Minister here. Can you imagine how much the economy would have grown if we hadn't exported so much of our manufacturing to other parts of the world?
Whose fault's that? I wonder. But even so, the answer of whose fault it is isn't even in the government. It's the people who think they can profit off basically subsidising their profits with low income workers. And when it gets to the point where you actually need to pay your workers more, that's where they go, that's got to cut in our profit, let's move them elsewhere. And I mean, that's not just in like energy, that's in any industry. Look at all those Brexiteers and their companies who, as soon as we're out of the EU, went, oh yeah, we're moving our factories elsewhere anyway. So yeah.
Well, why do you think we ended up with jobs going to places with lower labour costs? I mean, people didn't go to open factories in China because of climate. They went there because labour costs are lower. So,
but Bob Ward,
if you want to push back on the global economy,
hang on. Labour costs.
Ahead.
I accept there are cheaper labour costs elsewhere in the world. I accept that.
Good.
However, for lots of heavy engineering, for chemical production, for steel production, for aluminium production, energy is the most important part of that. And what we've done, by mistakenly, in my view, going for wind, is we have made our electricity very expensive. For much of the last 15 years, we've had the most expensive energy in the Western world. So we've kind of forced this stuff over.
We don't have oil, really. We don't have the same oil as other places in the world. That's probably why our energy is going to be more expensive. You know, you bring the cost down by investing in green energy years ago when you should have. When you don't have to rely on fossil fuels, and you have all this surplus energy from other sources, funnily enough, your energy costs will go down. Britain's in the shitter at the moment as far as energy goes, simply because we've not diversified enough. He's probably going to attack wind energy because he started doing it there. But everyone he'll blame for it is not the people he should be. He should be blaming the sort of people who saw they could make money from wind, but didn't want to invest in more riskier, better, innovative green energy. If we did that when we should have, which was like 20 years ago, if not before then now we might be having a different story where we have all these good technologies that's resulting in surplus energy, and we'd have cheap energy as a result. This is all just a lack of foresight, really. Same as the HGV drivers. The way to solve the crisis with the HGV drivers is increase their wage, increase their working conditions, improve their working conditions, and invest in training as many possible. And you should have done that when you knew you might lose loads from Brexit. So you should have done that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if that was the plan. Lack of foresight, once again. This is what conservatives and right-wingers do. They get to a problem and they don't want to fix that problem until it becomes too late, and then suddenly the fixes for the problem, well, it won't solve anything now, will it? Well, yeah, you should have done it years ago when we told you.
You know, overseas. I mean, look, you say the science is settled.
No, hold on.
But there are others that would disagree with you.
Let's talk about the cost of
Others would disagree with you. Fuck off, Farage. Fuck off.
energy, because people will have seen the cost of energy has gone up right now.
Yeah.
And why is that? It's not down to wind. It's down to the fact that natural gas is now much more expensive. And the reason why is because it's a finite resource, and our supplies of it are nowhere near meeting demand. It is our dependence
this is
on
like
natural
seven year 8 science.
The costs going up. But it's not clean energy. The solution is going to be domestic sources of clean energy.
Before the gas price went up, before the gas price even started going up and being discussed, all right, people were already paying more than 20% extra. Now, estimates vary, but 20% is a very conservative estimate. Some say it's high as 35. They were paying more than 20% more on their domestic electricity bills. Companies were paying the same, you know, those that needed it for manufacture, all of it to subsidise wealthy people who own land and put wind turbines on it, and big foreign companies building offshore wind farms in the North Sea and elsewhere. I mean, surely, Bob, my point to you is this: if you want to carry the public on this, and
is he attacking rich people who own land and are profiting from green energy when he's backing rich people who own factories and benefit from fossil fuel energy? Is that literally what he's doing? He fucking does this all the time, Farage. He talks like if he's a common man, and he's a fucking wealthy former banker from a wealthy background whose literal life goal is to hoard as much money as possible. He's a big grifter. His mate is Donald Trump, a member of the elite, born a millionaire, got given millions of dollars for businesses by his family, who then increased his wealth over time, and he tells people he's a common person who has their interest best at heart. It's the same con. It's the same con for Trump as it is for Farage. I'm just glad Farage didn't get as far as Prime Minister, I guess.
And you do, because you believe in what you believe in, and I absolutely accept that. I understand that. You've got to understand that outside of London, outside of the think tanks, outside of what you do, outside of Westminster.
Oh, this is where he goes, London elite. Oh yeah, you're like, all those elite areas of London, yeah, that we know of. Oh, fuck's sake. Some of the greatest poverty disparity is in London still. So this talking point is bollocks. It's always the thing of like, well, normal British people don't agree with you. Working class British people don't agree with you. I'm fucking working class. I'm white working class, and I don't give a fuck what you say. I've never agreed with you, mate.
Out there in the country, there is great scepticism about CO2 and climate change. And people are saying, why the hell are we paying a huge price for this when China's doing nothing? And you've got to carry
people might be saying that, but it's because they've been misinformed about why that is.
People with you.
By Farage.
And I honestly, I plead with you, if you really care about this, stop the poor giving the rich all this money.
So
I agree, Farage. Fuck, I agree with Farage. Stop the poor paying for the rich people's mistakes. That includes you, by the way, Farage. You're a rich person. All your mates in the Tory party and the mates who split from the Tory party with the Brexit party, all your mates in banking, that's who you're talking about right here. You don't want the public to know you're talking about them, but you fucking are.
So the great scepticism you talk about doesn't exist at the level you talk about. Less than 10% of people now think climate change isn't happening or that it's man. The vast majority of people in surveys
but should they pay the
climate
price?
is changing.
Should they pay the price?
So let's talk about the costs here.
Yeah.
So we have two choices here. We either pay for the costs through the impacts of climate change, so you pay more by dealing with the damage caused by flooding that makes our food more expensive, that damages our property. These are the costs that we pay for.
We've had flooding for thousands of years.
The flooding is getting worse. So rainfall...
We've had flooding for thousands of years. Oh, fucking... We need to do something about knife crime. Oh, people have been stabbing each other for fucking donkeys, yes. I read stories about them happening in 1066. What are you talking about?
You look at
fucking
the
idiot.
data, you can see for yourself, rainfall is getting heavier in this country and around the world, and it's basic physics, Nigel. It's basic physics.
Is it global warming or is it climate change?
The warmer...
That's the fucking stupidest thing I've heard. This video, the last 5 minutes, I guess, this video time. I've been going on like nearly 15 at this point. But yeah, fucking global warming or climate change. They're literally the same fucking thing, Farage. Once again, year 7, year 8 science, this.
The warmer the atmosphere gets, the more moisture it holds, so when it rains harder. That is why we get more flooding events like we've been seeing all around the world. Not just in the UK, but in China, in Germany. These are all events that are becoming more severe because of climate change. And that's the trade-off here. You either pay for that. If you want to pay through people's lives and livelihoods being destroyed by more extreme weather,
those that have been flooded,
or you pay up front. And remember,
those that have been flooded,
there's an optic problem
those
here.
that have been flooded
the money
is a
that
few
you
thousand, isn't
pay
it?
for investments in new forms of energy.
Oh, that's all right then. Did you catch that? Oh, people who've had their lives ruined by flooding. I don't know if he said lives ruined, but that's what he means. Those people who've had their lives ruined by flooding. Only a few thousand, isn't it? Oh, that's fine then. Oh yeah, definitely won't go up.
Energy actually create jobs. You're talking about jobs.
All right, so the optic problem I mentioned there is this guy's pretty political neutral from the sound of things. He's not really trying to take a side as far as I can gather, but he's answered the question of should poor people pay for it with, well, I think what he's trying to say is, well, you need to pay for it now because there's no other choice. That's what I think he's saying. I think he wants to say, right, you could have paid for it before, but you haven't, so you have to pay for it now. But optically, that just sounds like he's agreeing with Farage. Yeah, they should. I think that's where a lot of people would take that. That's not what he means, I don't think. But yeah, it's just an issue optically where people might come out the side of Farage because they think this expert, because people are being told to distrust experts, you see. This expert thinks that they should be bearing the brunt of it, and I don't think that's right.
That are created here.
Yeah, I would think probably green jobs against jobs we've lost in other sectors. It's something like 3 or 4 to 1 more jobs have been lost than have been gained.
Don't buy that.
Climate change. It's not through climate change.
I'm saying,
again,
I'm saying
you're making
when
the
you
mistake
give
of thinking
people...
that
Unless he's talking about, the current forecast for green jobs on the current plan. But the point is we are not doing enough. We could replace more jobs with green energy jobs easily if we invested in it.
Jobs go to China because of climate. They don't. It's labour costs.
We close the steel.
So you want low labour costs?
We close the steel works.
You want to pay people less? Go ahead.
We close the steel works.
No, don't do that, mate. If you want to pay people less, go ahead. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to say, well, this is your fault. You've made this decision. He's obviously hyper-focused on climate change and the need to fix it. And he's basically going, well, if your decision is the only way we can have green energy is if we pay people less, then you're going to have to do it. And optically, it's just going to look bad. I don't agree with how this guy's framing it, I'm afraid. Still on the side over Farage, because Farage is being obviously misleading. He's kind of led him to that point. And Farage is winning this debate, I can see, from a GB News person watching it. Your viewer.
In Redcar, because it was unsustainable. The cost of energy was too expensive. We now import.
China's It's not
the cost of energy.
We now import. It's cheaper because labour costs are cheaper in China.
In many businesses, I repeat the point, energy cost is more important than cost of labour. We're now importing 5 million.
Well, why are you fucking arguing against wage cost increase then?
Tons of coal a year. We have a problem with the gas price and gas supply. Yet, up in the Bowland Forest, we have a massive reserve of shale gas. Should we not be fracking and taking out some of that shale gas? Because we're going to need it, aren't we?
Have we tried fucking up the world some more? Maybe we fuck up the world some more. Maybe things will just sort themselves out. Oh, fuck off, Farage. You know exactly what you're doing.
If shale gas can...
Earlier, he went after rich landowners who own green farms or some shit, like wind farms or some shit. And he's here now going, oh, shouldn't we be fracking? Which would definitely result in some profit from our mates.
Can be extracted without causing environmental damage locally and that local populations agree, then go ahead and do it. But don't make any mistake to think that that's going to solve our problem. There's nowhere near enough shale gas to make any difference to the price of natural gas, because the gas that we buy on the European
what he says, right? I don't agree with how he's framing it.
Will not change because of the small amount of shale gas we have.
We could be self-sufficient.
Reliant on
Britain is the opposite of self-sufficient.
All you will do with shale gas, and this is what the experts have shown, is all you're going to do is replace the gas that is going offline in the North Sea. It is not going to change it. If we make ourselves more dependent on natural gas, we will pay the price that we're seeing now.
We could be independent. Last question.
You absolutely couldn't.
And it's an important one in terms of strategy.
Given
that electricity generation is about 40%, I think, of all the CO2 that we produce in this country. Is it time to say that the only reliable form of energy available to us right now that actually does not release CO2
he's going to say nuclear.
Is modern nuclear energy? Yeah. Is that the way we need to go?
I'm in favour of keeping nuclear and for it being part of a mix. We want a diversified, clean energy mix.
Yes, I agree with that. You need to diversify your energy.
And wind also has a role to play. We do need to have a development in storage, but they are coming along.
There is a lot of scaremongering around nuclear energy, and I think it is fairly overblown. But what you're saying is correct. You can do nuclear. You need to be very careful about relying on nuclear, though, for obvious reasons. You need a diverse range.
Hearing that for 20 years and none of it's ever happened.
Well, that's
none of it.
Whose fault's that?
You're telling me that the storage of batteries
whose fault's that?
In your mobile phone,
to power.
Then it's completely
shit.
Not to power the national grid.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood what he was saying.
Finally, Bob Ward. To the people at home.
Hang on, I missed what he said there.
Yeah, and for it being part of a mix. I'm in favour of keeping nuclear and for it being part of a mix. We want a diversified, clean energy mix. But also solar and wind also has a role to play. We do need to have a development in storage, But they are coming
I've been
along.
hearing that for 20 years and none of it's ever happened.
Well,
None of it's ever happened.
if you're telling me
Never
that
happened.
the story
Never
of
happened.
No, that's dumb as fuck. I thought it was saying, oh, we need like different sources of energy. Oh, we've been hearing that for 20 years and it hasn't happened. And I was saying, like, whose fault's that? That's the fault of people who should be investing in it. But is he actually claiming that battery development has not changed in 20 years? That's fucking stupid, isn't it? Wow, that's like the stupidest thing. Has anyone bought that? Oh, Jesus.
of batteries has not improved in your
Not
mobile phone,
to power.
then it's completely
Not to
wrong.
power the national grid.
It's energy storage. It's basically the same thing, but on a bigger scale. If you've improved technology in one area, you can definitely upscale it. Like, that's not an issue. I mean, solar panels 20 years ago compared to now. Look at the batteries. People have them in their homes now. It's a pretty obvious improvement. I don't know what he's talking about. He's just wrong there.
And
On the scale.
And
I hate Farage.
finally, Bob
Time,
Ward,
Nigel.
to the people at home watching this or watching it on catch up, should they be more worried about climate change than about jobs, prices,
Yes.
and their kids?
These are not the choices. Changing to a
No,
low
just
carbon,
literally just say
clean,
yes.
efficient economy will create better jobs, better growth, better climate.
You need to just say yes to that because people need to be aware of the consequences of doing fuck all about climate change. What you're going to have, Fallout, resource wars and stuff. You're literally going to have that eventually. Like it's inevitable. When you've got places like America and China and Russia and other places as well, probably the EU as a collective, who haven't diversified their energy supply to green and enough different types of green sources. When it comes to an energy crisis and there's only so much fossil fuel left in the world, there will be wars to fight for it. There just will be. And guess what happens when there's wars to that scale? It'll be a world war. Smaller countries will be probably annexed, most likely. And people will probably be forced into states where they have no freedom. It'll become authoritarian. It's called what's it called? Eco-fascism. Look into it. I can't really go over it in this video. The video's going to end up being too long. But eco-fascism is a real worry for the future. All right, we only have a few more seconds left.
All round for us. They're exactly the same.
Well, I tell you what, if it can be done without taxpayer subsidy, I'd be with you in many, many ways.
Well, oh yeah, that's because that always comes well from the right wing, doesn't it? Without taxpayer subsidy, the poor people always pay more under the Conservatives, and that's been evident over the last decade or so. So, I don't take Farage seriously when he talks about. I found one of the weirdest things he said there. I'm not even going to talk about the stupid stuff about the batteries, but one of the weirdest things is attacking people with wind farms. And once again, the issue is ultimately that people aren't investing in what they should do. And if his argument is that there's all these like very rich people who are just paying out of their nose for, getting paid out of the public's nose for their wind farms, your issue is, two things. Your issue is diversify, so you're not just relying on those people. And also, remember bringing it into public ownership? Remember that idea? Nationalise it if it's so much of a problem. If you don't want people profiting on energy, nationalise the energy. It's that simple. But I can't see someone like Farage ever advocating for that, regardless of what he says about making sure people don't pay for it.